Toy Story was a legend. Toy Story 2 pushed out more commercial success and media hype, so it was a no-brainer that Pixar was eventually going to create Toy Story 3, and they did in 2010. Keep in mind Toy Story was released in 1995 and Toy Story 2 in 1999. Yep, that means it was created 15 years after the first film and about 11 years after the second film. That's a really long time for a sequel. Star Wars. When Toy Story 3 finally was made public, people loved it. They praised it and said that it was the best out of the three, and it made even more commercial success. Toys for the kids, and the critics were just amazed. Rumors about awards came and went, and everybody kept shouting, "My toast has burned!" But what do I think about this film? To be quite honest, I just liked it. I mean, it was really good, but I don't think it's as good as the original, but definitely better than the second one. It could be the nostalgic value, but I don't think it was as good as people say or make out to be. But that doesn't mean I don't look down on this film or I think it's bad or anything like that. I still think it's a great film. I guess I should back up my thesis. First, the plot. The plot is about how Andy is now grown up and he doesn't play with his toys anymore. So he's going off to college, and after a mix-up, the toys are being sent to daycare. Once there, they think it's paradise. Only Woody, who really knows what happened, is out to get back to Andy and really determined to get out of there, which he does, but he doesn't make it all the way and goes to a little girl's house where the toys tell him the horrors of the daycare center, which is probably run by Stanley Kubrick or something. No, just kidding. So Woody now needs to save his friends because there's the daycare of doom. And the other toys just try to escape because they're unhappy with the circumstances of the daycare. The antagonist this time around is a bear named Lotso, and to be honest, I think he's a pretty boring character. He deceives the toys by showing them how ideal the daycare center is, but in reality, he's something more like a dictator who wants total control of the toys and of the daycare center. I mean, it's something we've all seen. Even in this film, I didn't like him right from the start. I knew he was the bad guy. But whatever. The more interesting scenes in this film are the toys escaping. Woody making a break for it, the toys having this big plan to escape. It's all good fun. It's really nice to have them plan out the whole escape thing again. It happened in Toy Story with Woody and Sid's toys, and in Toy Story 2 with Buzz and toys going to Al's place. There's also something like a subplot, or something, whatever you would like to call it, about Jesse and Buzz and some sort of romantic relationship. I really don't care about that. I mean, where did it come from? I know in Toy Story 2 there was something like a little splash hint, kind of, maybe, sort of this thing, but now it's just there, and I don't really think it's important to the plot or anything like that, but that's just my opinion. Final escape scene is actually pretty epic. It reminds you of something like a horror movie. Even if you've never seen those slasher films, it's a constant cliche. If you're running away from someone or something, you head to someplace dark like a junkyard, you trip at the most inconvenient of times, and there's a sound of death looming in for the characters. It actually handles this scene very seriously as a contrast to other climaxes of the other films, where they're just more goofy and it's a no-brainer the toys are going to be triumphant. There's a scene where Woody still saves Lotso after all he's done to all his friends, and what does Lotso do to repay them? Take a guess. He sends them to their doom. What a jerk. See, this is why I never had teddy bears. That and because they remind me of the Ewoks trying to kill me. Spooky. In an epic climax, the toys appear that they are going to be, well, going to die in a fiery pit of doom. You know, I keep saying doom, so this scene sort of reminds me of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. But anyways, this scene is great because the outcome looks, well, it could be anything. The toys have fulfilled their role with Andy in keeping him company and being his friend, and it really seems that they embrace death as they're heading down their destruction rather than the audience knowing for sure that they'll survive. Which they do, you know. They do survive. In the end, they make it back to Andy, and he decides to give his old toys to the little girl Woody was with earlier. The last scene is also plenty emotional when Andy is hesitant to give up Woody and has one last playtime with his toys. Lotso's gone, so the daycare reforms, truly becoming a new paradise for the toys that arrive there. And all in all, this is a pretty good film. Some funny scenes, such as the toys wanting to see if they can sell themselves on eBay, or Potato Head commenting on how Andy needs a haircut. My thoughts exactly. It's a good film, and it takes everyone back to the days when they used to play with their toys. You know you've done it at one point, don't lie. Even though it's good, I still don't think it's what people make it out to be. With these newer movies, in anything, any genre, or anything like that, people tend to say one thing and everyone tends to agree. If someone says a movie is really bad, people agree, closing their minds and only to nitpick the really bad parts of a film, when in reality, the film is just okay. This film is good, but I wouldn't say it's a goldmine of a movie like everyone else says it is. The climax with the toys almost dying is actually pretty sad, and that's one thing to mention. Pixar took a huge risk at making this. They could have used the same formula of having a comedic moment and our protagonists living in happily ever after, and it probably would have been just as good or just as popular as it is now. But they decided to take a gamble, and it really paid off, and it's even better than how it would have been. Pixar has always been one to take risks, though, if you think about it, and I think that's why they're so popular. With any family film, you know the outcome will be crystal perfect, like in any of those lame Disney princess films, yuck. With Pixar films, I think the endings are, well, happy enough. They're more or less realistic. With Monsters Inc., Sully couldn't always see Boo, but in the end he did get his chance to see her. In The Incredibles, the house is blown up, but the family ties and relationships are really tight. And Up, Russell still doesn't have his parents to pay any support or pay any attention to him still, but Fredrickson is still his friend and he still supports and he cares for them. I think these realistic situations are what we relate to instead of, the fantasy ending. And I think that's why we love Pixar movies so much. I think so anyway. Bottom line for Toy Story 3, it's just a great film. The characters are 98% interesting, the music is great, the scenes range from hilarious to you panicking for their lives, and it's just a satisfying ending to the story we experienced 16 years ago.